Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Back for this week's coverage of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 on SMB. Jared Gregory here with you on the call alongside the great Tom O'Gorman and pushing our buttons and twiddling our knobs. Tonight's director, Mike Braun, and week 6 of 2026 season 2 opens a brutal stretch of the schedule that I'm going to go ahead and call the Concrete Jungle, featuring the likes of the Miami Grand Prix Circuit, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Adelaide Street Circuit, the Long Beach Street Circuit, and tonight's entry, St. Petersburg street course. And racing began in the waterfront district of St. Pete back in 1985, utilizing downtown streets and a runway of the Whitted Airport. The course was moved for a couple years in the late 90s and then brought back to Bayshore Drive in 2003, where it's become a staple of IndyCar, along with a few years of NASCAR and the American Le Mans Series. Tonight's config is 2.9 clicks, 1.8 miles, and 14 corners. And boy, Tom, here we go. These drivers are going to enter a concrete labyrinth for the majority of the remainder of the season schedule. So as we start to dip our toes into very hazardous, fraught waters, what are the keys to success going to be out here in St. Petersburg?
Well, I think with street circuits, less is more than anything else. You cut distance a little bit more. You obviously leave a little bit more margin, but the racing has been so intense the first 5 rounds of this Formula 3 season. And you're right, coming into the final 7 rounds, this is the first of those final 7. 5 of them are street circuits, or as near as makes no difference there with Montreal. So I think the drivers are going to be shifting just a little bit from racing each other to racing the circuits a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to maintain the level of racecraft and race competition between the drivers as we add challenge to the circuits themselves.
Yeah, too right. And St. Pete, a brand new circuit, and it's not going to be one of these tracks like Watkins Glen or Spa where everybody has thousands upon thousands of laps out here. Brand new content, and it definitely takes some time as we ride along with Stephen Case here, kind of threading the needle between those barriers. Takes time to pick up the nuances of this track, to be sure. Not only do you have concrete walls out there, but you can see some fairly aggressive anti-cut curbs involved as well. Probably want to stay off of those, and as you see Stephen Case sawing madly on the wheel right there with some opposite lock trying to keep that car straight. The conditions here not doing these drivers any favors. The ambient temp fairly mellow, 77, but my goodness, look at that track temp, 122 degrees. And, at least on our SDK timing tower, it's not agreeing with the graphics right now, but it is going to be hot and messy out here, particularly in the feature race, Tom. 25 minutes of fighting that slide through some of these tight corners here in St. Pete could be a real challenge to keep your tires underneath you.
And it's repetitive slow corners, especially driving off of the corner, that's going to be a big challenge when those tires start to wear out. But also the thing that pops up with street circuits you typically don't see on proper road courses is the amount of texture, bumps, dips, and just kind of cracks in the road. So much of that present here on St. Petersburg, other than this runway on the front straightaway down into turn 1. As we join qualifying with only about 2.5 minutes left, Stephen Case, he's your winningest driver on the season. 3 wins out of 4 out of 5 rounds, excuse me. Just barely over Max Lotto, though. Look at that, 0.005 of a second between the two. And we're probably past the prime time of the tires in this session. See if any drivers can improve.
Yeah, that timing tower. Woo-hoo! Corwin getting a little bit camera shy right there as we go to him. But timing tower looking pretty impressive right now. I like to look at the 1 second bracket. The top 14 out of 19 competitors here bracketed by 1 second or less. So and another, oh my goodness, shades of things to come as you see Conway getting a little loose and bouncing that F3 car off the barrier right there. But yeah, it is going to be a tough one out here tonight, to be sure. But my point on the time is that these competitors have put their time in, got their seat time in, their practice time, and looking like they're ready to play out here in St. Petersburg. And we'll show you our championship points a little bit later. Tight up and down the list there. So every race counts here down the stretch, and it sure looks like these guys and gals have shown up to party.
Just in the closing stages of qualifying, Max Lotto, he's on camera just there. Excuse me, that was Alex Velasco. But Lotto goes to pole by 58 thousandths of a second. So he made a liar out of me that the tires may not have it in. He was able to do it just now. Checkered flag flies on the session. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. A 15-minute heat race and then the 25-minute feature, both scoring points towards your team and individual championship. But here's a look at your grid.
Yeah, here is your starting grid for the first of two races here on SMB. We'll have a 15-minute heat and a 25-minute feature. The heat setting the grid for the feature with the exception of the top six, which will be inverted. But it's Lynn Lotto next to Case up front, then Conway next to Green in row 2. Alex Velasco will line up next to Josh Corwin in 5 and 6. Then Chris Eggert next to Jason Cotcher. Kenan Miller will line up next to Tyrone De Silva, and that will get you to P10. Danush Paborji will line up next to Adam Duvall in row 6. Then it's Adrian Lopez next to Varun Bali. James McDonald next to Thomas Brashear in 15 and 16. Michelle Lynn will line up next to Kulker and Dillon. Diego Posada next to Enrique Vela in 19 and 20. And then Nathan Perkins will bring up the rear in P21. That is not a name familiar to me, so Nathan may be a newcomer here. But yeah, Lynn Lotto lighting the wick at the very end there. And I'm looking at I tried to pull up the pit counter at the end to see if he did that by changing tires during that 25-minute qualifying session. The session ticked over before I could get that information for you, but I suspect Lynn Lotto might have thrown on some fresh shoes to make that lap happen and nudge Stephen Case off of the podium. But there is Max Lynn Lotto in the number 9 car to the right center of your screen. So he will have, I believe, the inside run into turn 1, or no, that is the outside actually. Correct. And I'll tell you what, one of the great things, Tom, about this track, and our little track map there doesn't quite do it justice. We go from a literal airstrip that you could probably line 10 of these cars up side by side, funneling into turn 1. And if you've ever watched an IndyCar race there, you know that even the professionals have a hard time doing that clean. So that is going to be the first job on the list for these competitors tonight. Get through turn 1 without incident. And here we go. The lights are coming up. We'll get Tom's thoughts on that as it's happening live. But here we go. We are underway at St. Petersburg. Lynn Lotto looking fairly good. Conway with a good start as well, though. It is Lynn Lotto from Case, and Case is going to have the inside and immediately pounce. It's Case from Lynn Lotto from Conway, and looking pretty good there through turn 1 so far. So nobody biting on the commentator's curse so far, or I may have spoken too soon as I heard Tom exclaiming there in the background. But here we go. We are underway here and into the backside of the course.
Yeah, only 5 cars through clean in turn 2 and 3. That's the top 5 just here. We'll get everybody who might be involved in the incident in the background, but it feels almost inevitable, doesn't it, JR, as it goes from that 10 to 12 cars wide down to maybe 2 or 3. As you see a couple stragglers rejoining or trying to cling on to the battle. How about Lloyd Conway, though? This is such a good start to the race. We saw a really good showing last week at out in Portugal, and now here in Miami, running in the podium position, but he's got one of the most consistent drivers just behind him, Jason Green, always quick and tends to be maybe a little bit quicker and stronger in the race sessions as they wear on than just in qualifying raw pace. Stephen Case took the lead pretty easily down into turn 1, was able to take that shorter line and then shut the door. These cars really are maybe not a lot of race car for a lot of racetracks. They are a seriously large amount of race car for this particular track with the amount of power and the amount of speed potential that they have. You see them spreading out, just kissing the wall for the 77.
Yeah, too right. And that 123-degree track temperature is going to make that 250 horsepower feel like a lot more. And there is Velasco getting involved in that incident early on. You see him facing the wrong way and spitting off body panels, and that is going to cause him to take a tow. And that, gosh, who was that coming through there? A number of drivers going evasive there, but Velasco, yeah, sitting in the pits right now, taking repairs, and his heat race may be over. And we'll jump back to Conway here live. It's Case from Lotto, from Conway, from Green, from Eggert. And yeah, you said it, Tom. Conway sitting pretty good right now, but with Green, Eggert, and Corwin behind, none of those guys slouches, and a number of people sniffing around behind as well. And there you see Josh Corwin being a good boy right now, coming back onto that airstrip. And look at the width of that track. And I'm telling you, if you've watched an IndyCar race, that funneling action off of this wide airstrip down into turn 1 is absolutely wild.
Huge move down the inside for Lynn Lotto, and Case was feeling super defensive. That was all the way back in turn 1, and they're still going at it. here into turn 4, you really have to keep an eye on those curbs. They're a little bit more like landmines in these cars. And then here's the most difficult transition. This braking zone and entry for turn number 8 comes up so fast after you come out of that tight section, and then you just got to keep it tight and tidy up against the right side walls before you get here onto Bayshore Drive. A little bit of draft kicking in here for Lynn Lotto, but you're going to have to be way closer than this to make a move down into turn 10 into the airfield section once again. And just to point it out, Josh Corwin, he sits in the 6th position. He was involved in the contact in that first lap, kind of schmozzle in between turns 2 and 3. I don't think there's any damage on the front of that car, but he's actually running slightly closer and closer to Chris Eggert.
And look at Lynn Lotto fighting for grip right there. And man, what a thrill to hit that Bayshore Drive and hit that turn 10. They got to be deep into 5th gear and right up to the wall to get a fast lap. So they're rolling the dice right there, Tom, on every single lap if you want to be at the pointy end of this field. And look at Lynn Lotto continuing to pressure Stephen Case. He's got that interval down to about 2/10. Case, we've seen him many race weekends drive away when he's at the front, but Lynn Lotto not letting him get away now.
Not at all. Ooh, big rotation from Lynn Lotto on the brakes into 8 that time through, really keeping Case honest. There's so many line choices through turns 1 and 2, and Lynn Lotto really working hard to try to set up a big run, but Stephen Case driving the short distance more often than not, and it's really netting positive for him. Pulls out a couple car lengths down into 10. As we come up on this time by, it'll be a quarter of the way through the race. 4.5 minutes down just now in green, keeping a little bit closer to Lloyd Conway in the yellow 77.
And this just in, Lynn Lotto has broken the 108 barrier despite these roasting hot track temperatures, turning in the fast lap so far 107.88, which is about 2/10 and change faster than Stephen Case. So Lynn Lotto pressuring Case and showing the pace to keep Case honest here. And although, just as I say that, I'm looking at my timing tower, that gap has jumped out a little bit. It's about half second now between Case and Lynn Lotto. And taking a look at Jason Green, we mentioned Conway having his hands full with the traffic behind him. That includes Jason Conway and Chris Eggert, both with multiple podiums thus far this season. So Conway pedaling hard and definitely keeping his eyes on his rear view. Back to Josh Corwin, got De Silva behind him, and the field spreading out a little bit right there. You're seeing a lot of non-colored intervals there on our SDK timing tower in your upper left.
It's true. I do want to shout out from that first lap. Everybody did such a good job to realize there was an accident and slowing down. It did separate them from the rest of the field significantly, but that could have been a whole lot worse. This is a really high value position that Josh Corwin holds. This is 6th spot. It becomes pole when we invert the top 6 for the next race. And I think Tyrone De Silva knows that and really wants this spot, keeping the pressure on the back. It's Corwin in the 37, De Silva in the 480. Corwin still with a decent advantage on the brakes down into turn 1. My math skills were showing last time through. It's not a quarter of the way done. We're a third of the way done as a 15-minute heat race is ticking away.
Well, technically, I'm not going to pull out the calculator on you, but 6 out of 15. Well, anyway, but back to Corwin and De Silva, and you're absolutely right. And De Silva, woo, and here's Corwin on the start. And
wow,
that's what turned Alex Velasco. Just a little bit of wheel contact right there. And, man, that is open wheel racing as De Silva drifts out a little bit there into Corwin, probably going to come down as a racing incident. I know that Corwin did not want that to turn out that way, and Velasco a lap down and DFLing it right now from that incident. But Velasco fans, hang on. We do have a feature race. This is only the heat, and Velasco will have plenty of time to claw his way back out of that hole. And here is James McDonald diving down the inside. Oof. Or actually, that was the wrong car. He was getting dove upon, I'm going to say. Washes out into the barrier, and man, oh man, Tom, that is not the first one of those slow, lazy slides into the wall that we're going to see tonight.
No, and unfortunately, right front damage to that car is going to cut James McDonald's heat race a little bit short this particular race. But the battle for 6th rages on. They're not far away from each other at the front either, as we join in the cockpit of Josh Corwin. Just see how much steering angle is required. These are such slow corners for these race cars. They're typically designed for racetracks like Spa and the like. But here on the streets of Long Beach, It's a little bit closer for Tyrone Da Silva, a little bit too far back, I'd say, yet again. But look at that. He wants the spot. He's going to show the nose into the mirrors just to try to rattle Corwin. Corwin, a little slip off the exit of the corner, but pulls out a couple car lengths. Maybe a bit premature from Da Silva there.
And some great camera work from our producer, Mike. The mad steering angle in Corwin's car as he plows brutally through that corner. Man, oh man, massive amount of understeer right there. And, you got to trail brake as much as possible to keep the pressure off the front tires. It's the kind of the easy way to ride that understeer through this track. But with these kind of temps, with that 25-minute feature coming up, that kind of driving is absolutely not going to be sustainable. You'll blow the front tires right off of that car. And that was kind of shocking to see how much Corwin had the wheel cranked over right there just to keep that F3 car on the track. But doing a good job managing that gap behind regardless. Still about half a second as Corwin is clinging to that P6, which is going to be P1 in the feature if he can hang on for the next 6 minutes and change.
Ooh, a little brush of the wall for Lynn Lotto coming off of turn 10 that time by. But I'll tell you, the number 9 car looks really quick. This is just about the most honest anybody has kept Stephen Case on raw pace this entire championship. Again, he's won 3 of the 5 rounds so far. That's your leader, Stephen Case, in the 2-4-3. It's just been a class act, even on the inverts. Tends to find all the right places to be, gets himself right back towards the front. But Lynn Lotto, again, holding him accountable. A little bit of a float as the rear tire is just going to start to fall off ever so slightly as we pass the 10-minute mark in about 30 seconds. These two have pulled away significantly from Conway, from Green, and from Eggert. Those cars equally spread out for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And here, Lynn Lotto looks like he's got just a little bit more left in the tank. He's able to run right up underneath the rear wing of Stephen Case through this entire section. And now they're coming up on James McDonald and some more for lap traffic to make things even more exciting.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, neither of these cars right now, Tom, look, you couldn't describe them as being on rails. And looking at my timing tower, it looks like they've both lost almost half a second off of their previous best lap. So they probably put those heaters down lap 3 or 4, and these tires already beginning to protest their treatment out here in the Florida sunshine. But look at that interval right now. We'll see if Lynn Lotto can make something happen with the draft here. That interval 0.2 and dropping as Case will move over to cover the inside entry to turn 1. And the way the track is designed, not really an opportunity to do an over-under right there. So a little inside defense getting the job done there by Case. But look at that interval now. Oh, my goodness. Lynn Lotto all over Case like the plastic on Grandma's couch. Tries the outside right here, rolling the dice, almost a wheel bang. Lynn Lotto flogging that thing within an inch of his life. And Case, the Iceman, hanging on to P1.
Wow, incredible stuff between those two. It's so bumpy on the outside in that entry as well. When you saw Lynn Lotto dive to that outside, beautifully held to carry the outside line through the rest of the corner as well. They have yet to catch James McDonald, surprisingly. There he is now just pulling off to the side. So your leaders will get through. Stephen Case full of pressure by Max Lynn Lotto coming up on maybe 3 laps to go this time by. Both cars looking just a little bit ragged into the final corner. Look at the oversteer on Lynn Lotto. Holds onto it, but loses a couple car lengths.
Yeah, looking very, very ragged. And Max does flog that F3 car right on the edge. And, that may not, as I said, may not be sustainable over the long term. But what Lynn Lotto wants to do is get Stephen Case during this heat. And he's got about 3.5 minutes to do that. And letting it all hang out right now, really. And providing some fantastic racing up front. And the same move again. And the same result as Case hangs on.
Well, he's either in the position where he's just throwing at everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, or he's trying to tempt Stephen Case into a pattern and expecting what is happening down into turn 4 just to switch it up, or maybe on the very last lap. But I still think Lynn Lotto might be the quicker car between these two. He was your pole sitter, remember, but then lost the lead way back in turn 1, and it was barely a fight. He had to start on the outside lane, and after the launch, he basically was in second at the braking zone. Needs to get a little bit of a better exit here in the final corner, and he can be a bit closer for turn 4.
Oh my goodness, and Lynn Lotto driving that car like a ballerina right now, drifting those last couple of corners. It looks smooth, it looks comfortable. The tires might not like it, but he's still all over Stephen Case. That gap now down to under 0.3, and Lynn Lotto, the holder of the fastest lap in this session, 107.4. And he's got Stephen Case's fastest lap by about a tenth. And you saw that little puff of concrete right there, a little wheel bang against the wall. No harm, no foul, probably. It doesn't seem to be losing pace, but man, oh man, that is racing between the walls. And frankly, that is the racing that we're going to see for the rest of this Formula 3 season on SMB. And this is just an appetizer, folks.
So fascinating to watch the placement of those cars in that chase camera as well. Looks like we might have a battle for 6 still raging as well, but this is the best battle furthest up on the racetrack between Stephen Case and Max Lynn Lotto, coming to, I think it's going to be 2 to go this time, right, JR? Yes, 1 minute and 7 lap times with 1 minute and 30 to go. We'll get 2 more of these looks at it. That means Max Lynn Lotto gets 2 more opportunities to make a pass somewhere around this lap, but right now it looks like Stephen Case has a really comfortable rhythm established here. He defends into turn 1, wraps the back side of this exit at turn 1 nicely, and then is just able to defend the inside line, the preferred line, through turns 2 and 3 right there. And then look at him, dives right to the right side of the racetrack. He knows what Lynn Lotto is going to try to do. Lynn Lotto tries it once more, clears the front axle, sweeps around the outside, and it's going to be a little bit more commanding at turns 5 and 6 this time through. They're side by side at turn 7. You can't do that. Oh, that's so tight into turn 8.
Oh my gosh, great stuff. And Lynn Lotto's trying that move over and over again. He made the most progress on Case that time that he's made so far, but Case showing his racecraft there and staying super frosty. And another little wheel bang there by Case as time ticking down. We're on the penultimate lap right now. These drivers going to get the white flag this time around, but Lynn Lotto racy. You see him dragging in the inside tire there on entry to the last corner. Here they come down the pit straight for the last time in this one, second to last anyway. And Case ought to get the white flag here. And is Case going to move over this time? No, Case is going to take the normal line right there. Made Max show his nose down the inside. But, the way this track is designed, Tom, you saw Case take the extreme defense covering the inside of turn 1, and with that left-hander immediately after turn 2, there's really nothing you can do to defeat that inside defense, or so it would appear to me.
Yeah, you really just kind of glue the car to the inside lane, and it seems to be able to stay there pretty comfortably, or at least if you're fast as Stephen Case is. Lynn Lotto really getting ragged here in the late stages of this race. Only about 4 corners left to go. 1 significant braking zone, and it's coming up next. Turn 10, Lynn Lotto too far back, I'd say. See if he disagrees with me. No, tries to roll the car through the corner. It's a decent exit as well. 1-lapped car just ahead, coming into the final corner for the final time.
Yeah, and here we go, and what a race for your heat. And this is just the first of 2 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and Lynn Lotto maybe a little better drive onto that pit straight for the final time, but it is not enough. It is Stephen Case from Max Lynn Lotto, from Lloyd Conway, Jason Green, Chris Eggert, and Tyrone De Silva. Gets past Corwin. We completely missed that, but De Silva has put himself into pole for the feature, and here is how it happened right there. You see Corwin in the white and green car getting a little bit loose there on the entry to that combination, and Tom, you on these long combos, you blow one corner and it just ripples through the entire sequence, and you see De Silva pouncing there.
Totally right. It just gets you off your rhythm, and then you're behind for the next couple corners. I'm surprised it didn't already happen. It's still a battle between these two. This is a replay. They're already done. We know that De Silva gets through, and that's how it happened. Just a little bit of a mistake from Corwin. Clunks the wall on the exit, and that's going to allow that 480 to get through in the closing stages, the last second, really, of that race.
Oh, kabang. And these Dallara F3 cars showing to be stout. We've seen a couple of them bounce off the wall right in that same location and keep rolling. I would have thought some suspension components would be bending or breaking under that kind of impact, but they're keeping on, keep it on. But that is going to conclude our heat race. We're going to take a breath here and get ready for our feature, show you some points. But as we take our break, it is now time to take that bio break, run to the fridge, and do whatever business you got to do before our feature race. But let's take a look at those championship standings. It is Jason Green still hanging on by about 16 points ahead of Stephen Case. Chris Eggert right there as well in P3. Kalen Mikovits in P4. Jason Cotcher in 5. Then Velasco, De Silva, Lopez, Corwin, and Poborgi rounding out your top 10. And Tom, some pretty tightly packed numbers out there. Not a lot of big gaps. Plenty of time left and plenty of opportunities for movement down the stretch in this season.
Yeah, very close between Green and Case. Green has just been a little bit more consistent. Case has won more races. Those two just exchanging blows every single time we hit the track. And then the second half of the top 10, I mean, it's just maybe 3 or 4 points between each one. Here's the team championship. 2 drivers paired together randomly, and then their points are combined, and that's what the team championship ends up looking like. So the green cars, that's Josh Corwin and Jason Green, both with a top 10 in that past race. It was a good race for them. Then the IVRT reunion tour, Chris Eggert, Jason Cotcher in the second spot. Then the Dylan Case, Colker and Dylan and Stephen Case are in the third position, all still within nice striking distance. I love this little random pair up method. It kind of puts 2 people together that maybe otherwise wouldn't race together or even have seen each other on the track at times. But it gives them a reason to cheer each other on, keep track of someone else in the race, and then the championship. It's just kind of a fun little metric by the end.
Yeah, it really is. And I can imagine maybe having your rival show up on your team and having to support and root for a past rival, and it changes every season. So definitely adds a lot of fun to the proceedings. And as we warm up here, Tom, maybe you could call a lap around as Cotcher goes around, or one of these drivers goes around, and kind of help our viewers get a grip on the circuit here.
Yeah, absolutely. We join Jason Cotcher here, the captain, out on the back end of the circuit. This is turn 8 and 9, where we come on to Bayshore Drive. Little bit of a bend to the left. We don't even count that number as a corner. That corner as a number, just there. And then into a pretty big braking zone. You have to really get off the brakes nice and smooth to roll the car in here, because as we saw, that outside wall comes up really fast at turn 10. Then these cars are easily flat out through turns 11 and 12. They give you a nice race car curb there on 12, and also around the inside of 13, coming up onto the front straightaway. Typically, you want to glue yourself to that inside curb and treat it like a skid pad more often than not. These downforce cars, though, might give it a little bit of an option. Then, as we start a new lap into the braking zone for turn 1, so much space, but typically you want to just backside the second curb here, meaning tuck up against it as it ends, and then you could be flat out all the way through turn 2 and all the way through turn 3. It drives very single file, but it's a nice, easy, flat out section of racetrack. Then this big, wide open entry at turn 4. The outside apparently works. The inside obviously works, to Stephen Case's point in the last race. And then it's basically a little switchback around a quick carousel and back to the starting point of the previous lap that we just joined at turn 8. Both of these corners, I will point out, they're kind of nicely on camber as long as you stay on line. If you tuck it up nice against the wall on the right side of the track, they will sort of pull you through the corner themselves there at turns 8 and 9. The rest of the track, flat but bumpy.
Yeah, and any IndyCar fans out there, they posted on YouTube Joseph Newgarden pole lap from a couple years ago from his in-car. I put that up in the chat a little bit earlier. If it's not there now, shout it out. I'll put it back up. But, man, to see an IndyCar flogging through here with all that power, all that grip, all that downforce, and all the risk that you have to take to get on pole of one of those races. It is wild to see, and his reaction is something to see, as well as he just pips Palou out of pole on his last effort around the track here at St. Petersburg. As I said, I think that was from 2024, but very short lap and worth watching if you want to get the feel of excitement of driving between the walls out here. And now we're going to take a look at Jason Green try his luck. Here is Adrian Lopez as our warm-up session winding down, about 25 seconds remaining, and we'll have that starting grid for you. So, Tom, based on what we saw earlier, what are your takeaways from the heat? And I'm particularly interested in that repetitive battle between Case and Lynn Lotto through that opening section. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it was so good. I gotta say, the first thought that I have is everyone showed up with their big boy pants on. Everyone made really smart choices through that. Even the incident that occurred on lap one, everyone lifting early and getting through it clean as possible, at least. And it all started with a quick communication error between those two cars that had been side by side, but out of each other's view, just enough to have that contact. So all that to say, I think I've been very impressed with the quality of the show tonight for what it could be. But my thoughts for this race, I mean, getting through those first three corners seems to be absolutely, obviously, but absolutely critical to have some success in the race itself. And then beyond that, it's tire management. It looks like the car is a little bit easy to lose on entry and exit in basically every corner, but especially power down. That's where you lose your time. So yes, it might be a little risky on entries, but on exits is where you need to go fast. It's a short grid coming to the green flag already, a couple cars missing, but this is going to be fun. Tyrone De Silva, Chris Eggert on the front row.
Yeah, then it's Jason Green, Lloyd Conway, Lynn Lotto, and Stephen Case rounding out the top six. Then Lopez, Corwin, Brashear, and Michelle Lynn will get you to P10. Then Bali, Cotcher, Kenan Miller, Diego Posada, Cochran, Dillon, Alex Velasco, James McDonald will line up next to Duvall. Then Poborgi, Vela in row 10, and Perkins bringing up the rear, and kind of flew through that as time ticking down, and just in time. There are the lights. De Silva there is on the right row on your screen. He's going to have the outside line into turn one. You saw the pole sitter in the last race get smoked. Let's see if Eggert pounces on De Silva right here. De Silva not even trying to defend. He's just going to give that one to Eggert. Olay, and Jason Green sniffing around back there as well. So that inverted grid could really serve Chris Eggert and Jason Green right now. You know that Case is going to make a push and push his way up there, but passing a little difficult out here, it seems to me. And Eggert and Green both very, very fast drivers and skilled defenders. So Case with his work cut out for him if he wants to make it to the front of the grid.
Looks like everyone threw the first half of this lap clean and clear. There was a little lockup in the background for Corwin, and I think he just barely kept it off of Max Lynn Lotto, but Lynn Lotto appeared to be very uncomfortable through the first couple corners, and for good reason. These cars are back on cold tires, and they are such eggshells on cold tires compared to what the drivers just felt on the fresh, hot, nice race tires that they had only, 6 or 7 minutes ago. So as the cars start to come in, we'll start to see the confidence show once again, but it's Eggert, De Silva, Green, Conway, Case, and Lynn Lotto in that order. Ooh, a little tank slap in the background for Adrian Lopez, trying to keep the run on Josh Corwin going. But how impressive is this? Everybody through clean and clear.
Yeah, really great start, and it kind of shows you what would have happened if it weren't for that incident on the first lap of the heat. Look at that timing tower, almost every interval. A colored number there, less than 1 second or less than half a second there, depending on the color. So these drivers, again, have put their time in to get ready for this one and are looking good here early, as Brashear getting smoked right there on the outside by Bali. Huge move by Bali. Cotcher wants to follow him through, and that is for P10. So you can look up and down this grid from the front to the back, and all of these drivers are fighting like they're fighting for everything. But Tom, it seemed to me in that heat race that the tires started looking a little iffy about 10 minutes in to a 15-minute race. If we get 10 minutes into this one, there's going to be 15 remaining, and the drivers who don't take care of their tires are going to have big trouble down the stretch.
Completely agree, and there's not much you can do with that, right? Especially in a 25-minute sprint race. It's not like you want to slow down and manage anything, because we've seen the passing comes at a premium and track position is everything, but you really just have to start to learn to drive the car in those conditions. The car can go pretty much just as quick. Ooh, a big move for Varun Bali on Michelle Lynn. Lynn has to run just a little bit wide to keep things clean, falls off of her rhythm after that big attack from Bali. I think there was side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel contact as well. Ooh, in the background, what was that? Cotcher and Kenan Miller? Maybe? No, it's Alex Velasco with a tank slap. I think he was trying to get through and ended up getting lost on where the steering wheel was pointed and get off the wall.
Wow, and once again, that 777 of Velasco showing that these F3 cars built to take abuse right here. I mean, oh my gosh, he's going to take a hit on both front and rear axles against the wall right here, and drives away from it clean somehow. And I think we are on a replay right now, and we may see it here coming up. Mike is saying to calm myself that I'm going to see it in a second. So we will see. But in any event, maybe not. But in any event, you saw it live. Velasco smacking the wall. Oh, and there he goes. And Velasco has had enough, and it has been a rough outing for him. And yeah, that looked like a pretty hard hit, and he must have picked up some damage there, Tom.
Yeah, you see on the left side of your screen the meatball flag, the orange dot, and the black flag there. Mechanical issue, probably, as our crew chiefs likes to say, wheel damage. I don't know if that accent was good, but that's probably what it was that got him out of the race, unfortunately. But we rejoin the battle for the 4th spot on a replay here. Here's Stephen Case just going bowling down into turn 1, makes it stick, and picks up 1 position. And Lloyd Conway saw that one coming. I think he knows Stephen Case might be a little bit of a quicker race car, chooses to follow instead of fight it.
Boy, I'll tell you, not that I blame them, but some of these competitors, when they see Case coming with a head of steam, they don't even try to defend it. And you saw Stephen Case blow through Lloyd Conway like there, like he was pulling an anchor. We saw last week, I think Case got a twofer down the stretch of drivers seeing him coming and deciding not to contest it. But Case getting his work done. He's up 2 positions now, up into P4. And meanwhile, Max Lin-Lotto, your pole sitter from the heat, has broken into the 107s, set a 107.8, and actually Case in the 107s as well with a 107.9. But Lin-Lotto with the fast lap so far.
JR, maybe we haven't talked about him just enough yet. Chris Eggert has led this race from the drop, picked up the lead there in that Mercedes liveried, or is that McLaren Mercedes liveried, 222, and has just really controlled it beautifully. This is a fantastic performance from Chris Eggert. We haven't seen a whole lot of what this car looks like on the circuit just yet, but maintaining a nice, comfortable lead of about 0.8 of a second over Tyrone De Silva, who was your pole sitter after the top 6 invert. Jason Green is our first reference point. We kind of saw him in the conversation the entire first race, and he was able to pull away from Eggert just enough towards the later stages, but still runs in 3rd position, just in front of the shark of the field, let's say, Stephen Case, trying to kind of jaws his way up.
Yeah, as Case chewing his way through the surf, making his way up to P4. But you're absolutely right about Eggert. Eggert doing a very good job kind of driving off here early. And I'll tell you, I had the pleasure of being an endurance teammate with Chris Eggert for Petit Le Mans and GT3 car last season. And I'll tell you what, he is absolutely frosty. He is consistent, doesn't get riled, just gets out there and gets his work done. And that's what he's doing right now, and looking good here so far. 6.5 minutes in, and Eggert looking smooth and has stretched that gap out to almost a full second. So as we said, you know, Jason Green, Stephen Case, and Lin-Lotto always threatening, but the pass is not coming easy around here. And if Eggert can continue to maintain that gap, De Silva right now, the cork in the bottle, helping Eggert to no end right now. But Eggert looking good for sure.
De Silva with a slip somewhere coming onto Bayshore Drive, dropped way back from the back of Chris Eggert, and now is in the clutches of Jason Green. And I'll point out also on the championship side, we've only had 2 winners in this entire championship run here for the evenings. It's Jason Green and Stephen Case that run 3rd and 4th. Of the 2 of them, they've won all 5 races so far. So Eggert would be a bit of an upset to the apple cart if he's able to take a win here in the feature race. His combined score should be good enough to take the win on the evening if he does so. Now, as we watch Tyrone De Silva kind of getting his footing back underneath him and was able to pull away from Jason Green. I wasn't able to talk to any of these drivers or take some laps myself, but I have to wonder if there are any sections on this road course where aero wash starts to kick in, especially through the faster sections. But my guess is more than anything, it's just sight lines, as drivers are seeming to struggle to find a place to pass.
Yeah, difficult sight lines, and I would think when you get that dirty air in your front wing, maybe some difficulty getting the turn in that you want on some of the higher speed stuff right there, and bang. Just as I say that, Michelle Lynn washing out on entry right there, that high speed corner, just a little smooch off the concrete, but she has got Cotcher all over her as they get back onto the old airfield here. And Cotcher, we'll see what he can get done here. You can watch that interval over there on our SDK timing tower. You see it dropping, but not dropping as much as you might think. Went from 0.3 to about 0.1 right there. Cotcher not getting close enough, but showing his nose down the inside. And that is quite a train right there from P10. For P10, that is Lynn from Cotcher, from Brashear, from Kenan Miller. And all those cars covered by about 1 second, Tom.
Yeah, it's fun to see Michelle Lynn join us here. Formula V specialist more than anything here in the simulator, which is as far as you can get away from from a Formula 3 car without putting a roof over your head. But otherwise, up to speed and battling nice and hard here in the top 10 here in the feature race. A move in the background for Brashear. Looks like Kenan Miller got a run, is going to go up the inside. Brashear around the outside is going to shut the door. Does he keep it on the racetrack? Yes. Good defense.
Yeah, and you spoke about those Formula Vs that Lynn came up from, but I will say that if you spent time wheeling one of those things, driving those Formula Vs is all about maintaining, not overslowing, maintaining your speed across the apex, and precision. And I would say that all of those skills translate very well to these F3 cars, and Lynn really showing it, doing a good job here in her first season in F3.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that stands out to me is soft inputs. You can't really do anything fast and hard in a Formula V. You have to breathe on the brakes. You have to breathe on the throttle to keep that momentum up that you mentioned. And I think that pays really well here, specifically on street circuits, as you tend to not have nearly as many threshold brakes. Here's a replay, battle for fifth. Max Lynn finally gets close enough to Lloyd Conway to sneak through into turn one. Pretty textbook pass there.
Yeah, and the toe that he got right down the pit straight right there will give Lynn Lotto the fast lap so far in this one, a 107.6. So a number of cars in the 107s. Lynn Lotto, the fastest currently by, gosh, I'm going to say about a 10.5. So Lynn Lotto lighting the wick right here. We saw him with the pace to get on the pole in the heat, and plenty of time left, about 15 minutes. And again, just to beat that dead horse, tire management is going to play a role here down the stretch. And if Lynn Lotto can combine that fast pace with some good calm decision making and good tire management, he could really be in a position to get on the podium. Right now, he's only about a 1.5 seconds off of De Silva in P2.
I think Case and Lynn Lotto probably both going, man, this again, as they're battling each other. They were side by side into turn 4, just like we saw in race number 1, but battling for a much less coveted position in 4th and 5th. Jumping on board with Jason Green through the final sector, just threading the needle and then onto the brakes. Do you cut the distance? Do you open the corner? It's so hard. Oh, just a little bit of a lockup, and it's because Stephen Case dove up the inside.
Yeah, I saw Case juke over in Green's rearview mirror while we were watching that in-car, and I was like, here he comes. Green saw him as well, tried to widen his line to leave space for Case, and you saw that cause a little bit of a wiggle, cause him to wash out a little bit right there. That's going to put Case up into P3. That is a +3 for Stephen Case, who's climbed onto the podium, and things not over for Jason Green because the fast man on the track, Lynn Lotto, right behind as well. So Green got his hands full, and there's Lynn Lotto showing his nose here already. Jason Green saying, man, I just washed out of that hairpin. My tires are dying, and now I have to deal with Lynn Lotto. Ouch.
It's pretty incredible, too. That +3 for Stephen Case is the hard charger of this race. Look at that. No one has gained more than 3 positions anywhere on the grid, including all the way at the back. Shows you just how hard it is to make time here on the street circuits. And we'll remind you, we're going to do this 4 more times over the next 6 weeks at different street circuits or something similar to it. Field coming up onto what will complete halfway through the feature race for the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Chris Eggert still leads the way by a good distance. He's the only one in the top 5 that has more than a second to the next car.
Yeah, they are hitting almost all of them. If they had just added Chicago and Belle Isle, they could have run the gamut.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. But certainly some thrilling racing out here in St. Pete, and we're going to see a lot more of it. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing these cars at Long Beach, where I just spent a fantastic weekend this past weekend, and Gilles Villeneuve as well should be great in these F3 cars. But back to the present, riding along with Max Lindlato, looking forward at green, and Stephen Case. Lindlato with a little smooch on that rear axle right there. How many can it take? But Lindlato, again, within spitting distance of P2. That's only about a second. Woo! And there is a move. That is Case against De Silva, and Case would like nothing better than to put Tyrone behind him. Oh my goodness, what a move right there. And here comes Jason Green to pick up the pieces. Case and Lindlato both going through. It's Eggert from Case, from Lindlato. What a lap.
Wow, that's the difference in drivers that want to win the race versus want to survive. I think De Silva was like, nope, I don't want any part of this. And it put a bit of a cork in everyone else's bottle as they backed up. It looks like Jason Green might have been the big loser in that exchange. He does pick the position back up. Or no, he doesn't. They're still side by side for fourth position. Now it's Conway trying to get through as well. But the two that were feeling racy and didn't get held up at all were Case and Lindlato. They pick up second and third respectively. And Lindlato has a new fresh breath of life in this race as he had slipped back. Ooh. He carries the position in third position, but a slight mistake at turn 8.
Yeah, and he pollutes that fresh breath with a cloud of tire smoke. And let's watch what happened there coming onto that pit straight from the vantage point of Lindlato. You see Case and De Silva up there. Look at Lindlato stuff that thing inside of Green and De Silva. That was crazy. And somehow he makes it work. We're going to take a look at it one more time. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely nuts. And maybe arguably a bad line or mistake by a couple of those drivers ahead of him. But, you know, when opportunity knocks, you got to answer. Lindlato definitely does. And that is Diego Posada. And I want to see Velasco coming together as Velasco's troubles continue to multiply out here. He has had enough of St. Pete. We'll see if he even continues. But both of those cars on the flatbed. And Tom, the big winner in all of that, you're looking at him right now. All that fighting behind Chris Eggert now enjoys a 3.5 second gap back to Stephen Case in P2 with 10 minutes remaining.
It's looking so good for this driver right here, and just get to focus on your own laps at this point. There's not even anybody in your mirrors until the very last second. You're already focused on the braking zone before Stephen Case might pop up in, whether it's the actual mirror or the virtual mirror on the monitor there for Chris Eggert. But this is looking really, really good for this driver. Still a long way to go, though. 10 minutes in this race. That's going to be at least 8 laps, if not 9. That means Stephen Case needs to catch to, well, a rough mental math. I already showed I'm bad at this, but it's something like 8 to 9 tenths per lap. That's no, that's not correct. It's 4 to 5 tenths per lap. Why am I trying this?
And do we have 5 or 6? No, we'll stick with 4 or 5, but
yeah.
Case, that's not Case's only problem right now. He's got Max Lindlato about 9 tenths behind. Lindlato still the fastest man on the track. They were about even on the last lap, but in terms of their fastest laps, Lindlato got about 15 hundredths on Case. So it's not just about chasing down Chris Eggert for Stephen Case right now. And another cloud of smoke. And
it's Lindlato.
Lindlato, the tire witching hour, 10 minutes remaining. We see it week in and week out. 10 minutes remaining is when the drivers are exposed who aren't caring for their tires, and Lindlato has dropped out of that fight for P2 just like that. And look at our intervals now. Oh my goodness, our top 10 drivers now covered by 25 seconds. There are no races left in the field. Well, no, I shouldn't say it. Looks like Jason Green is leading a train of Green from Lindlato, from De Silva, from Lloyd Conway. Those cars about a second apart. That is for P3. But, man, the competition has really busted up thanks to that mistake by Max.
There's a look at it. Oh, it just gets the car really sideways coming off of turn 6. Has to lock it down. That is a beautiful save. When you don't have anti-lock brakes, if you just mash the throttle, the car will flat slide and continue the direction. He saves it nicely, pops off the brake, and has some momentum left, but Green is able to carry the outside at turn 8 rather carefully to pick up the spot. Here's a look at it from a little further back. Oh, excuse me. This is back to live images as we join Lynn Lotto once again.
and
He's
that
gotten
saved
through into
by
third somehow.
Oh, here we go. And Mike's going to show us Lynn Lotto fighting his way past Jason Green back into third place. Green not defending there on the pit straight, kind of letting Max through, fighting back a little bit here to keep him honest. But as we said, so easy to slam the door there in P2 due to the design of the track. So what looks like a good passing zone can be very tough right here. And here is a replay of Posada. Oof. And he is going to pack, speaking of old Mercedes liveries, there's an old Lewis Hamilton livery right there getting watered up into the wall. So things getting a little problematic there. There's Kenan Miller swapping ends coming onto the pit straight. So the tire witching hour is 100% in effect right now. And I'll tell you, Chris Eggert has got to be loving what he's seeing right now. Here's James McDonald as well. He has suffered terminal damage. So it is time for things to get squirrely right here. There is Lynn Lotto. He's got an appreciable gap ahead. Looks like he's got about 4 seconds ahead to Stephen Case, but it is Eggert from Case, from Lynn Lotto. Those 3 cars separated by 6 seconds as the field breaking up here down the stretch.
Still a great battle here for essentially 4th, 5th, and 6th maybe at this point, but I know my math didn't make any sense, but the math is still looking pretty good for Stephen Case. Look, he's cut the distance up to Chris Eggert nearly in half in only about 2 laps time. So there's a ton of pace in that number 243. Eggert has been consistent enough to maintain this lead, but if the raw pace isn't there, or even the tire management, to your point, which is all correct, we're definitely into the section of the race where things are going to be very difficult. That is still not all said and done for the lead of this race, as Stephen Case is charging hard.
Yeah, and you still got to like Case's chances to get his way past Eggert, especially now that he doesn't have Lynn Lotto nipping at his heels. That was Chris Eggert's best friend, was that potential fight for P2 between Case and Lynn Lotto. That one over, as Case has dropped Lynn Lotto to the tune of 3.5 seconds. And you're right, Tom, look at that gap drop. The previous lap, Case took about 5/10 out of him. The lap that we just completed took about 3 more tenths out of him. So math or no math, that number is getting smaller. You see the gap right now, 1.6 seconds. 5 minutes remaining, probably going to be about 3 more laps. So Eggert needs to keep it frosty. You saw a little bit of one of those lazy oatmeal slides right there. That means all 4 tires are getting weary with 4.5 minutes remaining.
Closest battle on the racetrack right here for 5th and 6th. Tyrone De Silva in the 480 and Lloyd Conway in the 77. Conway with the opportunity to make a move if he can get just a little bit closer. Otherwise, the rest of the field separated by nearly a second or more up to the closest car between them, working the infield section, maybe if you call it that, through a parking lot. If you saw the pavement there, and then back onto the public streets through turns 9 and 10. Ooh, big opposite lock for De Silva, and then falls out of the rhythm just a little bit, out of the groove. Didn't have any camber onto the back straightaway down Bayshore Drive, but it doesn't matter. He's still well clear of Conway, at least this lap.
Yeah, and some great camera work right there by Mike Braun, and a great illustration of why I do not drive these cars. I drive GT3 cars because I don't have those kind of reflexes anymore because I'm an old man. But yeah, there is Conway in his attempt to chase down De Silva. 7/10, doable. But Conway running out of time and maybe running out of grip. Every time you do one of those big drifts, you got to let the tires breathe for as much as half a lap to get any kind of grip back. So De Silva may be feeling pretty confident right now of hanging on to that P5. But coming down the stretch here, about 3 minutes remaining, watching that gap between Eggert and Stephen Case. Case has taken a couple more little bites every lap. He gets another little nibble out of that interval, but it's still 1.4. And Case now running out of time. And of course, as the old adage goes, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. And that might be what puts Chris Eggert on the top step of the podium for the first time this season. Eggert coming on of late, P3 at Road America, P3 at Algarve, looking for a P1 here in Florida.
Oh, trying to really diamond that corner off. Look at them trying to manage forward bite. That was a bunch of management for Chris Eggert. Stephen Case, nothing. He's got plenty of confidence in that race car. And it is, to your point about the tires, it's more about temperature than anything. You don't have to really slow down all that much. You just have to drive the car a little bit softer. You drive the car with a little bit more precision. And by that, I mean not so many sudden moves. And the car can typically do just about what it can always do. I think Stephen Case demonstrating that very well right now for us as he sweeps through turn 4, just tucks it beautifully up into turn 5. Look at the car in front, just scrabbling for grip. Case, almost no drama. I think the rears on Eggert's car are toast.
Yeah, and with all respect to Chris, we have seen this out of him before. He drives hard up front, starts to drive a little bit loose, and the car gets away from him very quickly in the late stages. And Stephen Case has got this right where he wants it right now. You see that gap about 4/10 right now, probably about 2 laps remaining. So Eggert is going to have to take a page out of Case's book right here, aggressively cover the inside of turn 1. Let's see what happens. Keep an eye on that interval, folks, over on your timing tower. It's 0.3 right now. We should see it dropping a little bit here as the slipstream goes to work. Eggert not defending, but instead will slam the door right there. White flag is out. Can Eggert hold off Stephen Case for another lap? You saw the interval crank down there on the pit straight and now growing. Got it back up to about 0.6. So Eggert fans on their feet, on the edge of their seat. Can Stephen Case do anything here in a track that has been very, very tough to pass? Case, our hard charger, as Tom pointed out, only +4. So not hardly any movement out here compared to what we normally see.
It was a rough first sector for Stephen Case, it has to be said, but he is rallying here in the second and third sectors. Eggert with those toasted rear tires, not so fast through turns 8 and 9, but just enough to get an advantage. It's 3 car lengths into the final braking zone on the last lap.
Yeah, and all Eggert needs to do here is keep it on the track. Don't let the car get away from you. And it looks like he is going to do it. Here comes Chris Eggert down that pit straight. You see Case weaving behind, and Eggert will take his first victory in Formula 3 this season after a very opportunistic drive. Pounce on the start, maintain that gap behind, took advantage of some fighting behind, particularly between Case and Lynn Lotto, and rides that all the way to victory. It is Eggert from Case, and oh my gosh, is that in the lap? Is that Kenan Miller getting into a kerfuffle there with Dylan coming down the stretch before they cross the start-finish? But up front, Eggert, Case, Lynn Lotto, Green, De Silva, and Lloyd Conway will get you to P6. We'll have the complete results for you here in a second as we watch the last couple of cars come through. And is that who is that in the 1? That's Brashear having more problems there. I think it might have been him that tangled with Miller that we showed just a moment ago. And look at all those cars out. 21 take the grid, 14 finish on the lead lap, which you might expect at a track like St. Pete. But all in all, pretty good race out here today, Tom.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch. Again, the field really showed up and met the challenge here. That attrition doesn't tell the full story of the high-quality racing that we saw here tonight. Your top 3 coming in for a podium photo and then inevitably some donuts to finish off the night before we have some talks with a handful of these drivers. But yeah, again, I mean, this is a really interesting kind of flip to what we've seen from other rounds, right? As we move into what can only be said as the street circuit era of this season, maybe things will continue to be this topsy-turvy. Well, it's still a tight street circuit for the racing, tight street circuit for the donuts.
Yeah, and you see Lynn Lotto throwing it in reverse and getting the hell out of there as Eggert and Case firing up the donut factory there on the start finish straight, following our podium photograph opportunity right there. But we're going to have those final results for you. There they are, Tom. Why don't you fly through those for the folks, and I will take a peek out in the green room and see who is going to share their insights in tonight's race.
Yeah, sure thing. So again, Chris Eggert taking the win for IVRT Reunion Tour and for himself in the 222 by 0.4 of a second, or just over Stephen Case, who will probably take the championship lead after this round, or very closely so, over Jason Green. But Max Lilato came home in third spot, about 4 seconds back from that lead battle. And then it's Jason Green in the 160 for the green cars, further back from there in fourth. Then Tyrone De Silva holds on for a top 5 after starting on pole. A great drive for the 480. Then Lloyd Conway just couldn't quite find a way through, but maintained the top 6. Josh Corwin and Adrian Lopez had some great battling in the early stages. And then Varun Bali was so aggressive, moved up 3 or 4 positions just on raw gusto, let's say, was able to make some great moves. Then Jason Cotcher holds on for a top 10. Michelle Lynn for Dull Dime Racing finishes in the 11th spot over Colker and Dillon. And then Kenan Miller and Thomas Brashear will round out your finishers. James McDonald, Diego Posada, Alex Velasco, and Danush Paborji. In addition to Adam Duvall there with Enrique Vela and Nathan Perkins, all either not taking the start or suffering damage that ended their race early.
All right, there are your results, and we do have a few drivers lingering outside, and we'll go ahead and start right now with the captain, Jason Cotcher. Jason, thank you for joining us in the booth, and I'll just start by observing that a very wise driver and participant in your league here told us that tonight was going to be hot. Tonight was going to be slippery. Everybody has more power than grip. Who stays alive? And congratulations, you stayed alive and moved up 2 into the top 10. So how are things out on the hot track in St. Pete tonight?
Wow, guys, happy Wednesday. Thanks for having me. It was, I had a laugh with super producer Mike Braun there before the race, kind of final destination of a race. I mean, people are going to die. There's just no other way to go about it. You just don't know who, how many, or when, and maybe it's you. So yeah, I mean, just so much power in these cars. We had 125 track temp Fahrenheit in the sprint, and I was too busy in the feature to notice. But yeah, what a wild ride. I got kind of caught up in a little entanglement in the sprint, and then fought my way back through the feature. Had a great battle with Brashear and Michelle Lynn, and yeah, I'm breathing, man. You're cranking on the steering wheel around this place. I've watched IndyCar run it for years, and funny story, I actually had a ticket to the joint on 2020 March, and it all got shut down. I was on an airplane on my way there and flew home. So all kinds of adventures around this place in my life.
Yeah, wild stuff. And as you were talking, we had Mike was playing a slow motion in-car of you just absolutely brutalizing the front tires, riding some pretty serious understeer through some of the tight sections out there. So how was the car handling out there for you?
Yeah, the fixed setup tends to put more wing on the car than you need, and I've just been starting to really think about and play with the brake bias. I was trying to dial it back a little bit. When it's that hot, it's so easy to overdo it. The sensitivity just has to be so high in this league with these guys, and it's kind of a slippery slope. You do it once and it's not a problem. You do it twice and it's tougher the third time. You do it a third time and then the thing just won't turn at all. So the exact right of aggression is difficult. I mean, we usually run the Nordschleife GP circuit. We don't run the Nords because there are guys in house that can't learn the Nords in 45 minutes of practice around the big run. But so this time the GP came up on the schedule. We didn't want to run it for the 4th season in a row. So I said, hey, let's do St. Pete. So this is my idea or my fault, depending upon what the interviewers behind me say. But yeah, challenging place.
Well, definitely looking at the schedule, it could always use a little bit more concrete here down the stretch, and that certainly was provided. And I will say that when you watch the replay, you're probably going to be astonished at some of the wheel hits that these cars took and continued rolling. That shocked the hell out of me. But in any event, a great show, as usual, by Sim Racers Group. Good, clean, respectful, and fast driving up front, and a really good job by everybody. So as we wrap up, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, happy to hear that, man. I always enjoy. I think everybody, enjoys watching the slow motion broadcast. Just super quality. Love you guys. Shout out my teammate Chris Eggert with the win. I didn't even see it until after I crossed the line. It'll be fun to hear his interview. And Michelle Lynn, like I said, I had a chance to race with her tonight. Just super quality, super skill set. Really, really fine application of the throttle. I kept trying to force a mistake. I finally squeaked by, but yeah, so fun to race with these people, and we're grateful to have it. So thank you very much. We look forward to next week.
All right, very good. Thanks, Jason, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
All right, and I'll tell you what, Tom, why don't we go ahead and bring in tonight's winner for you, Chris Eggert.
All right, so joining us here in the booth, Chris Eggert taking the win in the feature race. Chris, you got us?
Yep. Hello.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us here. So we saw you kind of lurking in the background of the camera shots the entire heat race, but there's just not a lot of opportunity to make ground on drivers here, especially when you get there making moves. But taking the lead in the feature race for the rest of it until the very last stages, it looked like it was a bit of a cakewalk. But tell us what it was like from inside the car. I'm sure it was more dramatic than that.
Yeah, I got a good launch and got to send it up the inside, and then kind of coasted away for a little bit. And then, yeah, I thought Steven was going to chase me down. There was like a 3-second gap with like 5 minutes left. I'm like, I don't know if I can hold that. He's pretty quick. Now I'm pretty good at chewing through my tires. But just tried to hang on to it and, keep looking forward instead of behind, because that's when I was making my mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you kind of see that gap coming down on the relative, it's almost better to not even have it, right? But tell us a little bit about the difference in, we've done so many road courses, even if they're not all that well known, some of them, but shifting over to a bunch of street circuits, what are some things you have to change? What are obviously some similarities, but both in physically driving the car and mentally approaching one of these races? What's the difference when you get these concrete walls right up against the car?
Yeah, it's difficult. The walls make it very daunting to go around at optimal pace. It's very hard to push with high confidence. So this is a very difficult track. The roads like this, and this one is not as bumpy as Sebring, but it's pretty bumpy still. Those bumps are very useful to know. We were just talking about it in the other channel. There's a bump in the last corner that if you hit while you're getting on the throttle, you're going to lose it. So those are key things to just know going around the whole track. I mean, there's a lot of those corners.
Yeah, kind of memorizing the small bumps and pieces of terrain that these street circuits have. But if tonight is any indication, it's looking pretty good for the second half of this season if you mesh this well with the rest of the street circuits. While we have you here, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Well, everybody here for doing their job. Like, you guys put on a night or a show every night in, night out. That is awesome, because we can always come back and say, like, I can go to work tomorrow and say, check out this race, last night. That was a great race for me. And they can pull it up and watch the whole thing back. That is amazing. So I very much appreciate you guys doing that for us for quite a few seasons now. Thank you to Jason, my teammate in this season, actually, but the overall, the captain.
He was stoked, by the way.
Putting everything together. And yeah, my friends, family, everybody who's watching, very, very much appreciate the support. And yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us here, and congratulations again on the feature race win. And if my math is correct, which when you go back and watch the broadcast, you'll know what that means, but I think you become the third driver out of 6 races to win a night here. So congratulations on breaking the streak for both Green and Case.
Nice.
All right. So thanks for talking to us, Chris, here. Moving on, I think, JR, I'll pass the ball back to you, and let's talk to Josh Corwin, who we saw in a whole bunch of fun battles
Definitely.
tonight.
Josh Corwin, welcome to the booth. And my goodness, you were definitely a good boy tonight and got lots of coverage because you're in a lot of scraps out there on a very hot and greasy looking circuit. So how was that F3 car driving for you out there tonight?
It's like I was like on ice for sure. The first 3 laps, the tires aren't even up to temp yet. And you just try to go as fast as possible without hitting a wall. And Tyrone was pressuring me in the sprint the entire time, and 2 small mistakes, and he was able to get past, and then I backed it into the wall at turn 8, and luckily was able to cross the finish line in 7th, 8th in the sprint with no rear wing, and then regain my 7th position from Adrian in the feature. So fun all around. Wish I would have gotten that P6 so I could have been up front and holding everyone else up to maybe battle for a little bit, but I was happy with my performance, 0x, so I didn't hit any walls or any other cars, and on to the next round.
Yeah, very, very solid drive. Just moving up that one position that you picked up in the feature was an accomplishment. We had very little movement as it was fairly tough to pass out there, apparently. But how did you feel out here between the concrete and keeping in mind that we're going to be between concrete walls in the majority of the rest of the schedule? How are you feeling about that?
I felt like I was on my approach run to the Death Star down the trenches in an X-Wing. That's how it felt. And you come around corners, blind corners, you hear a car stopped on the left. So you really I came through in practice a couple times and T-boned a couple cars. So it was, you never know what was around the bend. But
nice.
Fun all around.
So that Death Star run either put a grimace or a smile on your face, and if it was a smile, you got a lot more smiling down the stretch here with the likes of Gilles Villeneuve, Long Beach, Adelaide. Oh my goodness, it is going to be a wild one. So as we wrap up, Josh, thanks for stopping by. And is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to?
Everyone who always watches at home, my parents, my brother, my girl back in Texas. My buddy Alvin, my buddy Kai, he's been tuning in. So I got my entourage that cheers me on in between all the sessions, and it's just a great fun for everyone. And you guys, of course, in SRG always.
Excellent. All right, Josh. Well, thanks so much for stopping by and sharing your insights, and we'll see you out there next week.
Thank you. Take it easy.
All right, that was Josh Corwin, wrangled a P7 by moving up one in a very difficult to pass situation. And our last contestant here on Join Us in the Booth, Tom, is Michelle Lynn.
Yeah, joining us here now, Michelle. Happy to talk to you again. You can hear us okay?
Yeah, hey.
Awesome. Good to hear from you. And it looked like you had a ton of fun, especially in the feature race, so much battling. How was it from your perspective out on the streets of St. Pete tonight?
I'm like terrified of walls, period. So it was really scary. My brain was like super busy just trying to like go fast, not hit a wall. But my goal for tonight, since this is my first season in F3 and I think it's only like my 5th race in these cars, was like I didn't have the pace. I knew that. I wasn't going to like suddenly get it. So my pace, or my goal was to keep my pace like, run like 109s, 109 and a half. Stay off the wall, get 0 incidents, and if someone's faster than me behind me, like I'm not gonna like move over for them, but I won't fight them if they go for a pass. To try not to lose too much time. And I figured if I can go into this race tonight with that mentality, I'll probably get a top 10. And I got a top 10, or I think I got 10th in the heat and 11th, I think, just now. So I mean, I feel like an idiot doing an interview finishing in 11th place. Just FYI, get that out of the way. But the captain asked me to, so I will abide.
No, I love it. We were talking a little bit about, I think we probably know you best for Formula V, and you said this is only your 5th race in Formula 3, and I said it was probably the furthest you can get without adding a roof. And of course, there's plenty of similarities, but talk a little bit about those differences and similarities in these two cars and what the learning curve's like.
I think it's like been well established, at least for you, because you've done the Liberty Bell stuff. I friggin' hate tin tops with a
Right.
passion. Like real life, the majority of my time was Formula Junior and Formula Ford. Cars where draft is everything. You're out there going as fast as you can, but you're also playing that mental chess game, to try to work the draft in your favor. And I would say like the F3 cars, although they are a zillion times faster, they definitely have, actually have downforce. I did do a season of Formula 2000 in real life. And although those cars didn't have a lot of downforce, it was enough that I got to experience, when you pull up behind someone and you start to lose air over your front wing, you start to lose traction and understeer. So like there's a lot of that in the F3 going around the track tonight, especially if you were behind someone, you were going to understeer into a wall. So you couldn't actually follow too close. My main issue is, I mean, it's an open wheeler, so everything's immediate. You turn the wheel, the car turns. Like, that's great. That feels right to me. It's the speed dynamic. My brain isn't used to that speed. And so, whereas like when I'm running Formula V in the sim, like everything's moving in slow motion and I have plenty of time to react. Whereas with the F3, my brain hasn't quite adapted yet, and it's still coming at me like too fast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it just really challenges the bandwidth of the driver, but it's also so fun when you get into these types of cars and things just start to slow down, right? Especially, I'm sure you felt that at times and are trying to chase that constantly, but that's a great description. Perfect. Thanks for that. Anybody you want to shout out or thank here while we have you on the broadcast?
The captain for letting me run F3 with them. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Love SRG. I mean, God, of course, to Slow Motion and to you guys. But my biggest thanks has to go to Jason Green. Jason has been coaching me every week, and helping me with my line, helping me with breaking points, and just being like a good support, which is kind of what I need. So shout out to Jason Green.
That's awesome. One of the highest quality drivers at the front of the field to get coaching from. So it sounds pretty good. So thanks for joining us here in the booth. We are going to say goodbye and wrap this thing up, but looking forward to seeing you back with us.
All right. Good night. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Good stuff. So as we close out halfway through the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 season, we do want to remind you about a really fun special event we have coming up here, the Road America Charity Invitational for Sergeant Adam W. Estep's Memorial Scholarship. It's a Mustang GT3 race at Road America on May 30th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. That's 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can hit any of those links or QR codes to find a way to join or watch or donate. Of course, if you're not an iRacer or sim racer yourself, we'll have 90 minutes of racing with awards including liveries and, of course, the winners of the race, 60 entrants in the Mustang GT3. Really looking forward to that. That'll be hosted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as well. And with that said, a whole bunch of racing still coming at you. Formula V this weekend for the Weekend Warriors, Saturday afternoon at Okayama, and then Sunday afternoon for the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford out in Italy at Mugello. Then next week, we're back with you for Formula 4 and Formula 3, both with the Sim Racers Group. Tuesday, I'll be here with you at 10:20 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 7:20 Pacific from Suzuka. And then we continue the battle through the concrete jungle, as JR calls it, Miami, the Formula 1 street circuit in the Formula 3 League. You can take a look at the rest of those dates. But thank you so much to everyone else for joining us as we have just ticked over that halfway mark. For JR Gregory here in the booth with me, Tom O'Gorman, and on production, Mike Braun for the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thanks for watching.